Hey, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do a video that was requested. It was basically, how do I fill in my eyebrows? And actually one viewer in particular asked how I fill my eyebrows in while they're in the growing process. So I'm going to show you exactly how I do that. As you can see, I don't have them filled in as of now. So I'm going to zoom in so you can get a better look at, number one, where they're at in the growth process, and number two, how I fill them in. So now I'm a little bit more zoomed in. You can get a better look at my brows. They are a little thinner than before, and here's why. Number one, I ran out of my multivitamin and my biotin. I'm sorry, my prenatal and my biotin at the same time. So for about a week, I wasn't taking them because I was waiting for my new package to come in. However, I normally fill in my brows with a skinny brown pencil like this one, Tarte. This is my favorite one, Tarte. You know, Anastasia makes one, Sephora has one, and these brow pencils, they have wax in them, so I like to fill mine in completely with these. I think they look super natural. Out of all the techniques for brows, I like this one the best. However, the wax was really starting to pull out some of the brows that I'd worked so hard to grow in. So for about 2 weeks, I was on vacation, I was working a lot, and I needed to fill in my brows every day. So I was using the pencil, and I noticed when I looked at the tip of the pencil, like when I looked at it, I would see all kinds of little hairs. I can see one right now on the pencil. And so for me, it was kind of like counteracting the fact that I've been growing them out with my rapid brow. I was really upset actually because I worked so hard for months to grow them out, and now I see hairs on here. So I've decided I'm not going to use these for a little while because I really need them to grow in, and I'm sick of it. So technically I would use this, and I would use a powder over it for a more full look. But since I refuse to use them now, I am going to go back and try my Dipbrow again, which I've been staying away from for a long time because really, if you don't know what you're doing, it can look really awful. And I still don't think I have it down perfectly, but I think I've learned a few things, and hopefully this will help you as well. So I really want to point out a couple of things. Number one, your brows are not twins, they're sisters, okay? So my right brow always looks better than my left brow. Part of it is because this brow is obviously much higher. The arch is much higher than it is on this side. I'll even measure it for you to show you. So if I take this and start it at the top of this arch and try to bring it over, you can see there's a little gap in between here. So what that tells me is this brow is constantly raised and I have to correct that every time. Also, the end here is really, the hairs are much thicker. So when I'm filling this brow in, it looks good. And then when I fill in this one, it's always too thick at the end. It's super frustrating. But you gotta do what you gotta do. I think when I use the pencil, it looks more natural. I can usually control it better. But with the Dipbrow, it's a little bit more challenging. So I like my brows a lot thicker. Some people like them to be about the same. I like mine a lot thicker. I just think they look better. I think it frames my face better. You know, maybe I overdo it a little bit because I really want them thick, but I don't really care. That's what I like personally, so you can adjust it to however you like when you do it. One of the things I do to kind of fake the fullness in the front, because it's really thin in the front, is take my contour shadow and I kind of just bring it into my eyebrow. And I'm going to show you that right now. So I take my Chocolate Bar by Too Faced, and there's a shade in here, it's called Mousse, right there. That's what I use in my crease. I use it underneath as well, and it's really a pretty natural color. I don't know if it looks natural on camera, but it looks pretty natural. So I'm going to just take my brush, a nice fluffy brush like this, and I'm going to dip it into the mousse, tap off the excess, and I'm just going to kind of work it up into the brow. It just kind of adds a little bit of fullness, and you can kind of just fill it in there too. Go over your eyeshadow. You don't have to do this, but I like to do it. Next, I'm taking my Morphe M158 brush. It's got a spoolie end and an angled end. And one thing that's really important with the Dipbrow is to use a really, really thin angled liner type of brush. And I actually don't think this is thin enough. You're supposed to use the Anastasia one, which is probably just a little bit thinner. If you can find one thinner than this, great. This is okay for me for now. I don't really care. I'm not gonna go buy another brush. What I was using before is something thicker like this. I think this is a Sephora brush. It's an eyeliner brush, which is way too thick. I have another one. I have a few different ones, but this one works better with the synthetic tip. You just want it to be really thin and really fine, just so it looks a little bit more natural. So I'm using the shade Chocolate in the Dipbrow, and mine is actually a little bit dried out, which I'm okay with because I make mistakes and I don't want to do it again. So if it's dried out, it's not going to be as intense when I put it on. So I'm going to start by brushing my brows up. You can see they're really long, like they're not really long, but they're really long. I need to get them shaped one day, and if I were just to do that and I just fill them in, I don't know if I like the way it looks. I like them to look brushed up and full. That's really how I want the top of my brows to look, me personally. So I'm going in with the Dipbrow. I'm going to take just a little tiny bit. And if you think you have too much, you probably do. I take the back of my hand and just dab it off there just to make sure you don't over apply. And then I like to start right below here, really light strokes. And I'm following those bottom hairs because that's how thick I want them. So now I kind of have this line starting from here all the way to the end. And I also like to kind of just add a little line towards the end here and fill that in. I start from the back because I want it darker in the back. I'm also brushing upward. Whatever's left, I'll follow up here as well. I'm taking a little bit more. I have some gaps in here, so I'm just kind of pressing it in. And I'm going to take my spoolie brush and just brush upward to kind of blend it in. I still have these gaps here, so I'm going to go over it again. I'm just taking it little by little. And it always looks a little bit darker up top because the hairs are so long, and when I brush them, I look like I have a line there. I'm really not filling them in. So I just keep filling them in until they look dark enough in the right places without the gaps. And I'm okay with like some stray hairs. Like I don't feel like I need to clean them up because I like the look of the brows peeking through. And whatever's left, I'm just kind of brushing upward. And taking my spoolie again and blending it out. Especially in the front, you don't want it too dark in the front. So I'm going to grab a Q-tip just to clean up around the edges here because I don't like them too full right here. I want them to look as natural as I can. And that's probably not looking natural at all. So for the sake of time, I went ahead and filled in my other eyebrow. And after I did that, I've been taking my Q-tip and just kind of cleaning up the edge just to make sure that they look as close to even as possible. And I will clean up under here as well. And I also took my brush several times to brush through. Now I know they're not perfect. I'm thinking this arch is a lot higher than this one still, but it's definitely an improvement as far as the shape and them being somewhat even. If I measure it again, that's about right. And I mean, this is like about as good as it gets for me. I kind of feel it like with Dipbrow, you need to use a little bit heavier eyeshadow. I like to darken up the creases right here just because I feel like it needs a little bit more. You definitely, I don't know, I just don't know if I can get it to where I can just wear no makeup and these eyebrows. It would be too much. So I'm still looking for the next solution, but for now, this is gonna have to do. I'll probably start looking into the Tarte and the Too Faced clay formulas because they're a little bit easier to work with, and for a novice I think that they work a lot better. This one you can make lots of mistakes, and I always do, and I'm always cleaning it up and spending a lot of time on it, but you know, done right, it looks pretty decent. Maybe not to you, but it looks alright to me. I want to add that I would use a really gentle cleanser to remove your eyebrows, especially if you're using Dipbrow or anything that's kind of like a waterproof formula. I really like Makeup Forever Sensi-Eyes, and I would just use, you know, the gentlest motions possible just to help break up some of the makeup. And you really don't want to rub too hard because if you're trying to grow out your brows, you just want to use the most gentle cleanser that you can find. And I really like that one, and it's also made for sensitive eyes. I thought I would zoom the camera back out so you can get a better look at them from afar because I personally think they look better from afar. You can use concealer, you can use foundation, whatever you want to kind of clean up more if you like. I am not really willing to take any more steps at this point. I've cleaned them up with a Q-tip. I might use a little shadow, but it's so much work for me to just get this part done that I'm done at this point, and my bangs cover them, so I'm okay with it. That's pretty much gonna wrap up the video. One last thing. I got a new brow growth serum, and it's called Luxe Beauty Brows. I got it on Amazon. It was about $31, I think. I don't remember exactly the price, but it was only a couple more dollars than the Rapid Brow. And this one is like a lip gloss applicator, so it doesn't have the spoolie brush like a mascara one. And one thing I will say about the Rapid Brow, as much as I loved it and I saw great results, from time to time, as I was brushing through, I would get a few eyebrows in the brush. And because there's no spoolie attachment, I feel like that's not going to happen with this, I hope. It got better ratings than the Rapid Brow by just a little bit more, and I'm just curious to see if this will be better. I do this, I try new things for you guys just to see who has the best products, and that's why I'm always changing things up. So I will keep you updated on that. And that's about it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.